Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today it's another trying to fix video. Another video where I've bought something faulty off, initially it was off eBay, but then we kind of did a little bit of a private deal, and I'm going to do my best to fix it. Now, I haven't done one of these in a while, and I have been known in these circles as the Nintendo Switch killer, because I have a very good tendency of breaking these rather than fixing them or making them worse. So we'll have to see now whether I'm going to be more lucky in this video. So I've done a few switches, and to my knowledge I think I've only actually got one working one out of it, and that was one where the Joy-Con rails at the side of the Switch were just ripped off, so it was a relatively easy one. Right, okay, so here we have this one. So let me tell you a little bit about what we have here. So basically, with this one, apparently the charge port has been changed out, but it's been done, I think there was a bit of corrosion or something, and it was a little bit tricky to do, and I believe 3 of the pads have been ripped off. Now, the guy, his name's Gary, who sold it to me, he thinks that the 3 pads that are ripped off are just ground pads, so hopefully they're not too important, but yet it's still not working. So he thinks it's the actual charge chip in here. And I have come across that before. In fact, I think on the first one I tried to fix, I took it off, but when I took it off I managed to kind of blow off all the other components, the resistors and capacitors around it as well, because I think that was possibly one of the first chips that I ever tried to remove. Now, I've done a few since then, so I'm definitely getting more experience with them, but I haven't actually had to do any kind of proper soldering work like this, chip removal, in what feels like a while. I don't know whether it would be a couple of months or not, so I kind of feel like I've lost touch a little bit. So that's why I'm looking forward to doing this one. So let's first of all, let's plug it in and see, first of all, let's turn it on, see if we have anything at all. Right, I paid £55 for it, which is not too bad. It was slightly more expensive on eBay, but I didn't realise at the time that the charge port had been swapped out. So basically I kind of said that I'm not really interested, but if you just want rid of it, then I'm happy to pay £50. And he said, well, if you pay £55, he was a subscriber to my channel, so I didn't know this at the time. He said he would like to see if it could be fixed on a video. A lot of you will think, why would you pay £55 for something that's already been attempted to be repaired and has failed? Well, that's because for me it's worth it just for the spare parts. For example, the casing, possibly the LCD screen. There's parts on here that I will be able to use to fix up other switches. So to me, I'm happy to pay £55 all day long, and at the same time, when you buy these on eBay, they're normally around 80 or, well, normally around £90 in the UK, but that's ones that you've got a chance of repairing. So I think it's a fair price. If somebody's tried to fix something and it's failed, you can't expect to get the same price, because now it's in worse condition than the other £90 ones. So I think Gary was happy with that, and I'm happy with that. I think it's a fair price all round. Right, as you can see, there's nothing happening there. So let's plug this in and see if we can find out what if it's trying to charge at all. So we've got this little USB thing here that shows what it's trying to draw. Okay, so something's coming through. It says 0.13, but I know when I put it in my other switches, I think it goes all the way up to 0.4, and I think when I watch Tronics Fix videos before, it goes all the way to 1.72 when it's like fully charging. Let's turn it on and see if it makes a difference. Okay, I think it went up a bit there, didn't it? 0.29. Okay, so what we'll do is let's take it apart, and I want to concentrate on the little chip to see if there's any shorts around it, and then maybe we could swap the chip out and maybe worry about the USB port later. Now, with the pads that's ripped off, I need to have a close look at it. I don't know whether those pads will go off on traces or tracks around the place, or whether it will be buried on the inside of the board, because on the boards in here, it's not just like one layer like years ago where you had the components going through the board, and it's not just a layer on the top and the bottom. I believe there's many layers in between that as well. So you have components on the top, components on the bottom, but then I think you have traces, you know, tracks running in between the boards, like a sandwich of different layers, so it makes it very hard. So possibly the traces that are, the pads that are ripped off, I might not be able to get to them to repair. But I thought it would make an interesting video. So, oh, I forgot to say, but obviously don't copy what you see in these videos. If you haven't seen me before, I'm not a professional in these things. I just like to muck around and try to fix things. I use the wrong terminology all the time, and most of the times I do things incorrectly. Success rate, it depends. On older stuff I have quite a high success rate of fixing stuff. On switches I have a very low success rate, and on other things maybe, I don't know, maybe 50-50, maybe 50% of my videos I fix, 50% I don't, I'm not too sure. But don't use this as a how-to video, because the information I give you will probably be wrong and may not necessarily be the safest way to do it either. Right, so let's take this thing apart and then we'll see what's happening with it. I think I'm going to leave it just plugged in for the time being, just to maybe try to get a bit of charge into the battery. Okay, I can see a little bit of sort of gunk round here where the charge port has been replaced. But you know what? It doesn't look very damaged anywhere. I know that's just the indicator for the water indicator, but these things around here don't look particularly burnt, and I thought you needed quite a bit of heat to change these out. So it doesn't look, I know he said he's ripped the pads off, but it doesn't look like a bad job. So let's zoom in quickly and have a look at the charge port, just so we know what we're dealing with. And then I think we're going to concentrate on testing a few of the capacitors and stuff around this charge chip here. Watching Tronics Fix videos, that's Steve from Tronics Fix. I think when it's not turning on like this, it can be this one here or this chip down here. But we can test, hopefully we'll be able to test that. Right, let's zoom in. Okay, so as you can see here we have the battery connector moving along, and we've got it here. So let's see if we can see what's going on. Right, 1 second, let me get some tweezers. There does look to be a blob here. Let me get some tweezers. Well, I don't think that is anything. I think that's just kind of just a bit of grime where it hasn't been cleaned properly, you know, with the possibly leftover flux. So this looks like the main fuse. I suppose we better check. Let's see if that's, when I say the main fuse, the fuse from the charging port going into the switch. Let's see if we've got continuity across that. So when I touch the leads, they'll short out. Okay, so that's okay. So let me see if I can see what's wrong with this port. That one's, is that one loose? Yeah, that's loose. That's loose as well. And would it be these three here that he's worried about? I don't know. Let's try to hold it closer up to the camera. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, there's definitely some of them that are, well, there's definitely one of them that's loose. Maybe I might just run the soldering iron across it just to try to get it down. The problem is with these ports here, it's not just what you see here, there's also a second row of pins in the middle there. And that's why I've never tried to change one of these out, and I'm not looking forward to trying to do it, because I would be happy enough mucking around with this lot here, but then I can't get to the middle one, so you're going to have to do it purely by heat. And the problem is that a lot of this charge port here is plastic, and a lot of the surround, there's a lot of components nearby it, and my worry is that when you have to heat it up to the extent that you have to solder the middle pins, then I think everything else would just melt. Well, okay, well anyway, that's that looks sort of okay to me. I was expecting the job to be a lot worse, so I think, personally, I think Gary's done a lot better job than I could do. But let's have a look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out, and I'm just going to test a few of the ports around the place. I mean, this one here that was loose, even if I was to hold that one down, I can't see it suddenly jump. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let's use something that's not metal. Even if I was to hold them down there, it's not suddenly jumping up. In fact, if anything, it's jumping lower. So I'm just going to use this here to get my ground, and then I'm just going to go across a few of the capacitors. Right, okay. Well, that capacitor's short in there. So that could be that could mean that this charge chip is faulty here, because if you have a look, this one's okay, it's only on one side, but on this one it's on both sides. Yeah, and this one here. But yet the top lots seem okay. But this is also shorting down here. Right, that is shorting everywhere down here. So up here we have some, but this one's got everything shorting around it. Sorry, let me just get it into picture here. I'm just going to go across here. I'm going to take the charger out of it for a minute. See, now the dodgy thing could be is if some of the wires were shorting, the contacts were shorting in here to ground, let's say the middle lot could be bent and shorting to ground, then that might throw up shorts everywhere else. So I could take this off here and these capacitors might all still be shorting because maybe it's in here. But if I was to take this off here in order the shorts were to go, then that says to me hold on. If I was to take this off and the shorts were to go, then that says to me it's this chip that's faulty. Now, there might be numerous faults. This might be faulty, this might be faulty, and this might be faulty. But the very fact that we've got all the shorts concentrated here at the moment, and not everything here, only some of them, that says to me that maybe I should start with the small little chip to begin with. Maybe I should start with this one here and try to borrow this off one of my other broken switches. I think that would probably be the best thing to do. So let me see now if I've got any of these spare anywhere. Well, I definitely have a spare one, which is here. Now, I don't know if it's a good working one or not. I think this might be one that Steve from Tronics Fix sent me over when he gave me a switch to try and repair. But I think they are all off other switches, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a working one, but we'll give it a go. Main thing is to get the chip off and then see if it's still shorting everywhere, because if it is, really it means it's not the chip anyway. Now, I'm really worried, I'll tell you why. This is in close proximity to so many different things. So to begin with, we have the little Joy-Con rail here, so I'm just going to disconnect that because I've got a feeling that maybe this might melt quicker than anything else. So I'm just going to basically try to get rid of that a little bit, and I'm going to put Kapton tape absolutely everywhere around here, and I'm going to put multiple layers on because I've got a feeling that this plastic is going to melt really easy, because look, we're just talking about 3 or 4 millimeters between here and here, so the heat is really going to be very high all the way around here. Right, so I've covered loads of the area around it in Kapton tape, and I've put numerous different layers on different bits, but this still might not be good enough. This is the Kapton tape here, and basically it's heat resistant tape, so hopefully the heat would just be concentrated on the chip and it will reflect off these bits here, but I'm still not overly hopeful, especially when it comes to this plastic connector here. In fact, I'm so not hopeful about it, I'm going to put a couple more layers on that little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting flux all around this area, all around here. This is the flux I'm going to be using, and I'm just going to heat it up and do my best to get that chip out. Then we'll take all the Kapton tape off and we'll measure it and see if all those shorts disappear, and it would be nice if they did, because then we could put a new chip on there. Now I've made a note of which way up the chip goes, so if you have a look I can see all the writing here. So I've got it, I've made a note on a separate bit of paper, because as soon as I take this chip out I'll forget which way it went. So let's flood this area in flux. Should be enough. And we're going to get the heat gun on this. Now I'm going to put the heat up as much as I can, which is going to be, on my one, it's going to be 480 degrees Celsius. That's the hottest it will go. I'm going to put the airflow around about maybe 2/3 of the way through, and see if we can pick it off when it's loose. This is the nozzle that I'm going to be using, that size there. So it's about the same sort of size as the chip. Oh, I've got to put on a fan to blow away the smell. There we go. Now let me quickly explain something before I do that. I've left everything in the board, and there's a very good reason why. There's a connector up here that connects up the LCD screen, this one here, and out of 2 switches that I've worked on, well I've worked on a few more than 2, but on 2 of them I managed to break 1 or more of the pins because it's so tricky getting that ribbon cable back in. So I already have good screens. The problem is it's the connector on the board that breaks. So I would rather risk damaging the LCD screen with this heat that it might generate underneath, rather than take it out and pretty much not guarantee, but I'm going to have more chance of damaging it by taking it out. So that's why I'm leaving it in. There we go. Actually, that came off pretty nice, and I don't think I knocked any of the other components off. I'm not really going to know until I take the Kapton tape off. There you go, you see I've burnt all this, look at that. See, it's all burnt down here now. What a mess. Right, so what should I have done? I suppose I should have put more tape around here. Either that or really taking the board out. Just so worried about that connector up here, because I don't want another switch that can't display on the LCD screen. Anyway, as far as the components around there goes, it's okay. It's a real shame about that, but I have got spare cases. That might not even be too bad when it's all it might not even be too bad when, you know, when it's all put back together. Right, let's get the multimeter. and see now if it's shorting out everywhere. Fingers crossed it won't be, which would be nice. Excellent. Okay, that's not. That's not. Brilliant, they're not shorting out. That's really good news. So now, just out of interest, this is the chip here. I'm going to see if this is shorting out. This is the old chip. You would expect some of them to be shorting out then, wouldn't you? Because that middle pad is an earth. None of them appear to be shorting out. Interesting. Right, okay. Now let's go on to the bigger chip. This one here. Do you remember this little capacitor here was shorting out? And it still is. Yeah. That's annoying. So this might have other problems with it as well. Okay, well, I think it's worth us putting this little chip in here just to see what happens. So I'm going to have to tape this all up again now. Also, schoolboy error, I forgot to disconnect the battery, so I've just disconnected that now, even though I do believe that that battery is completely dead. So that's a load of new tape put around there now, so I'm going to put flux all over this area. Now, I'm not cleaning off the old solder and putting new solder on. It would be better to put leaded solder on, but there's already unleaded solder on here from the previous chip, and the chip that I'm putting on is a second-hand chip. So that's going to have unleaded solder on it as well. Also, I'm not 100% convinced that this is going to make it work, so I don't really want to spend hours cleaning it all off to then put another one on. I'm just going to run with this for the time being. If there was no shorts on that other capacitor, it would make me think that maybe this is going to be it, but I don't really know. Right, so make sure I've got it on the correct way round, and I'm just going to put it roughly in the right position. Okay, I find it very hard, if I'm honest with you, because I put so much tape on it, I can't actually really see the edges of where it should be going. But if I take the tape off it, then I'm just going to melt everything around it. I think I'm just going to go with that and see if surface tension will bring it in, because when it's close, the solder should want to stick to each other, and it should kind of suck it into place. Let's give it a go and see what happens. So I'm doing the same again, 480 with the same airflow. No, this is silly, I can't see a thing. I'm going to have to cut this tape off, do it again. Okay, I can see a bit more. What I've done is I've just sort of cut slits around the tape just to kind of open it up a little bit. I'm making a right mess of this. Just want to make sure I'm the right way up again. Yeah. Right, I'm going to turn down the airflow a bit. Right, out of 8, I'm going up to 5. I think that might be in the right place. I think that might be it. I gave it a little wobble there and it seemed to stay. Now, I found that really, really, really hard, and I've got a feeling I've burnt quite a few things around the place. My hands are shaking everywhere, trying to work in a confined space, and also trying to keep the this one thing out of the view of the camera, so I can't go directly down on it. I'm sort of doing it at angles. I'm not too sure. I'm not happy with that at all, but still, let's see. Let's see what damage I've done. Right, I can see I've burnt the speaker quite badly here. Oh no. Oh God. Yeah, look at that there. Oh, I'm not even going to be able to open that up again. And I've moved this capacitor here as well. It's too hard, unfortunately. Just a really very tight space to work in. And obviously I'm an amateur at doing this, and it really shows when it comes to something like this in a tight confined space. I mean, to be fair, my hands were wobbling. My hands were wobbling more than actually the size of the chip. So yeah, everything's melted. This battery thing's had a bit of warpage on here, so that's melted. That's melted. This is melted. Capacitor's moved, but I might be okay. That resistor there has moved. That's just a mess. That's moved. In fact, this actually was worse than my first ever attempt at doing a chip. Right, okay, anyway, let's see what's happening with the shorts. Basically, I've ruined this board now, 100%, so it's another switch that is completely ruined. Yeah, look at that, it's rock solid down. There, oh, okay. Oh no, it does still move a little bit. No, it's coming away. Yeah, so the Joy-Con. I mean, I could still probably get the Joy-Con in if it's not melted up the top here. Well, it's melted here as well. I've ruined it, basically. So if you want to see a working switch, just might as well turn off the video now. But still, we'll have a look. I want to see if I can get anything up on screen. Oh, I'm really disappointed in that. Annoying is I sort of thought it was going to happen, but how do you stop it from happening? I need to have it at a high temperature, and also if I put it on a low temperature, I'm going to be heating it up for longer, so I'm going to be melting everything around it. The good news is it's not shorting out anyway. Alright, let's have a look now. So where should that little resistor go, the one here? Where should that one be? Well, maybe before I muck around with that anymore, why don't we put the thing in and see what happens? Why don't we put this charge thing in just out of curiosity, see what it does. Oh, I have to plug the battery in, don't I? I'm not even sure if that battery is going to make a good enough contact. That's not good. So that's saying absolutely 0. Let's try turning that on. Zero? Why is it saying 0? Is that not making a contact at all? Maybe the battery's not making a contact at all. Let me just try this battery here. Oh, well, that one clips in okay. Well, that's interesting. So before it was drawing something and now it's not drawing anything at all. Let's try turning that on. No, nothing. Now, could it be because, for example, that little resistor or something is knocked out of place? Highly doubt it, but could it be because of that? The chip does appear to be in. Let's zoom right in again. Okay, so that's evaporated off now. So what I'm going to do is I've got to try to straighten up some of these components here. This one, this one, this one. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. Sure, should there be anything there or not? No. I don't think so. Unless there should be something across here. Yes, there should. I've just had a look at my other little board here, and I can see that there's a tiny little component here. Little resistor or something. So I must have knocked that one somewhere. I wonder where that's gone. Right, okay, quite a bit to do here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to put Kapton tape anywhere, because even when I did, I melted everything anyway, and now I might have more control over what I'm doing. So I'm going to try to hold the wands in my left hand, which is going to be hard. I'm going to try to point the heat this way, and then I'm just going to try to sort of rearrange a few things. I'm not even sure if I'm going to put flux on. I suppose I should put flux on, otherwise I'm just going to end up having to heat everything too much. Yeah, I'll put little bits of flux everywhere. I only need tiny bits. Here we go. I'm going to turn the airflow right down as well, because I want it to sort of concentrate more on where I want it to go, rather than, you know, just going everywhere. So I'm keeping it at 480, but now I've got the airflow right down to 2 out of a possible 8. So I think I'm going to start with this big one here and try to straighten this up. Do you know what? I feel under much more control now without all that tape everywhere. I'm wondering if that was my downfall. Maybe I should have just done much less airflow and held the wand closer to it all. Saying that, it's not melting it. Here we go. Right, that's that one. Now let me try to put this one this way around, make it easier for me. Sorry, it's not in the camera. Hold on. This is the problem, I've got to do it for the camera as well. Right, let me try to move myself. Right, they're both moving. I hope they've gone in the right place. I think they have. Now I've got to try to straighten up this little resistor. Here we go. Now I have to get that thing off the other board, that little resistor off the other board, and put it on there. I know this is a complete mess now, but I'm not even thinking about that at the moment. Right, so I need to get the little resistor to go between here and here. There. Right, so let's swap the boards. I've got to try to remove that. I'm hoping it doesn't matter which way it goes round. Here we go, got it. Right, so I'm not even going to move my hand. I'm going to put it back in the same orientation. So there we go, I've got it roughly in the right spot. I can't even see it. This is hard. Right, hopefully surface tension will pull it in. Well, I don't know. It's not moving. I think I'll give that a go and see. I was actually quite pleased with how that went. I was actually quite pleased with how that went there. Let me clean it up again. I'm just going to do the short test again. Right, well that's interesting, that's shorting out now. Look. Right, so that's shorting. That's not. That little one's not doing anything, so I don't even know if that's connected. Let's go on to this one here a second. Saying that it's not doing anything on that one either. But this one here is definitely not shorting out when there's no chip in it. This is just the other board that I took the little resistor off. Yeah, that little one doesn't do anything. Oh, whatever. Right, let's plug it in and see if we get anything. See if anything happens on this. Zoom out. Okay, I've turned it on now. Oh look, 0.41. That is actually, I think, 0.41 is, I think, correct. I think that is correct. And then it jumps up or something to 1.7. Now it's gone back to 0. Now let's see if it jumps up to 1.7. No. But that was good. Now it's back to 0 again. Let's try turning it on. Can't remember if I turned it on there or not. Right, well it did something a little bit different. So it looks like it tries to charge and then fails, but there's nothing happening up on. There's nothing happening on screen here when I try to turn it on. Oh, that's not shorting anymore, that one. That's good. Well, as far as I'm concerned, apart from all the burning, it's not shorting like it was before, so that has to be a good thing. But we still have a short here. So I wonder now, is this chip faulty or is it something else? Now, I remember ages ago, I'm pretty sure Steve from Tronic Fix told me that I think it was if this capacitor was shorting to earth that it could be the video chip, and I'm sure that I changed a video chip before on one of the videos and it didn't fix it, but still I didn't want to take this board out because of this connector here, but I think I'm going to have to because the video chip is on the other side, and then I can measure around that chip and see if we're getting shorts. So actually right now I am quite hopeful because look, it's measuring what it did at the beginning. I'm sure at the beginning it was around 0.1 and we haven't got the shorts around here, so possibly we are making progress. I think while I'm here on this side, I think I'm going to put some flux on the pins here on the USB-C, and I'm just going to run over them with the tip of a soldering iron, because I remember before that when I tested at the beginning there was a couple of loose ones. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put a smaller tip on here and I'm just going to drag across here just to get a, hopefully, possibly a better connection. Right, so here we are zoomed in. Now if you have a look, we've got this one here which is broken. Well, not attached. I'm thinking I might be able to just solder that little bridge there. This one here looks attached. This one doesn't. So 1, 3. Then I'm going to go across all of them. I think it was the last one as well. Hold on. I'm sure this moved a second ago. Oh, there we go. That one there, number 2. Number 2's moving. And number 1 is, yeah, number 1's gone as well. I think I'm just going to go across all of them. Now I've got my soldering iron set to 350 degrees C. I'm going to put a flux on here again. Now remember, these are only half the pins. There's a load of pins hidden on the inside. I'm trying to see if I've got a burnt out one that I can show you, one that I took off another time. Yeah, I have. Yeah, look at this. Just so you get an idea of what it looks like. So that would be the that's what it looks like here, yeah. And now watch, if I turn around, so you can see these pins here on the board, but look, when I turn it over, can you see it's not just these pins, there's also a second row of pins as well. and that's the problem. So yes, I can solder these pins, but I can't get to these ones because they're in the middle there. But you never know, I could be lucky and they might be connected. Right, so you can see I've got a much smaller tip now, so I'm just gonna try to drag it all across. I'm going to add some solder to it. I'm going to put my soldering iron much higher. I'm going to put it up to maximum 480. Because what's happening is it's just kind of sticking to the board. I've put too much on there, so it's all sort of sticking up in the middle. So let's try to use some wick and try to get some of this off in the middle. Right, well I think I've got rid of all the solder bridges that were there when I put all the solder on it. But I'm not actually sure if I've made any difference to it or not. So I'm going to clean it up and then I'm going to see if there's any of the legs moving, and then I'm going to go again. I realise this time now on this, because I've never done one of these before, I realise now that basically any bit of solder you put on there is very hard to get off, because if the legs stuck out more you could kind of run it to and throw this way, but there's very little leg down the bottom. It seems to be all up this side here, so it's very hard to sort of, well for me it's very hard. Let's clean it up and see what that looks like. Here we go. I don't think any of them are touching. Don't think they are anyway. And there definitely seems to be more solder on them than there was before. So let's see now if any of them are moving. So I think this was moving before and this is still moving now. Okay, so that's no good. That's not moving. That's not moving anymore. That was moving before. Okay. That's not moving. That's not moving. That's okay. That's okay. That's alright. That's alright. I think it was 2 and number 1 that were moving, or... Okay, so it's just this one here. I wonder whether I would be able to get onto that bit there. Because if I could expose this little bit of the pad here, I might be able to just put a tiny little bridge of solder just between the two. Let me get a fiberglass pen. I wonder if that's the pad that Gary was on about. That one there. I mean, I thought I seen a little bit. I thought I seen a little bit of the copper pad left. Maybe it's gone now. Actually, thinking about it though, it might be going the wrong way, mightn't it? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if I can get any measurements from here to see where that last pad goes to. You know, the one that I'm working on, this tiny little one here. Because maybe it is an earth. In which case, I don't need to worry about it. When I'm in an earth, I'm in a ground. If I go to the ground pad here, and go to this one, you can see it's shorting out. Right, I don't need to worry about that then, because there's going to be other grounds on here that, there you go, that it can get its ground from. So that's also a ground, so that should be ground with that one there, which it is. Right, okay, so let's just double check that now on this one. If I was to go to here, then it should be shorting with, I suppose it's not going to short via the pins, so that is connected there. But if I went there, would that short here now? I think that's because I'm on the board there. Well, if I'm on the board there, you'd think I'd be able to get a bit of solder between there and there, wouldn't you? Yeah, that's not shorting on the pin, that's on the board. So that says to me then that I should be able to put a bit of solder on there. Ah, still hasn't stuck. Still hasn't stuck, that one. No, I'm going to call it a day on that one. It's not sticking. But if it's an earth, a ground, I mean, then it shouldn't make any difference. Well, I think because now that does appear to be a bit different than before, I think it warrants us to plug in the USB charger again and see if anything happens. So let's plug this in here. And let's turn this on. So it's just registering 0. Zero 2. Okay. It's about the same as when we started, isn't it? So far I haven't made any difference at all. Okay, well I'm going to strip this down and then we'll have a look at that video chip on the other side and see if we can find out what's happening there. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to be checking this chip down here. Let me zoom in. Okay, so this is the chip I'm going to be testing around now, this video chip here. Looking at the USB-C port, I can see that it is on slightly crooked. I mean, this could be down to do with if there was a short in here somewhere, possibly. It could be causing problems, I'm not sure. Right, there's not really much to test around here, is there? But these go off. Where do these go off to? These go off to all the way around here. Oh, and then from the other side there. So maybe, oh no, that looks like it goes into one of the main chips. Right, well, I'm not going to be doing it on camera because well, I will when I know what's going on, but it's going to take me ages. I'm going to be following things around the place and seeing if I can find out if there's anything shorted. Okay, so if you have a look here, there's a few things. If I look at this capacitor here, you can see that it's shorting on both sides, so I'm just using like this as the ground. So that's not right. And if you look at this board here, this was the board earlier that I took the little resistor thing off. If you have a look here now, you can see the video chip's missing. So look, you can see the ground. Okay, that's okay, but also look at this. If you look up top here, if I go onto these ones, can you see? Again, only shorting on one side. But on my board here that I'm trying to fix, if you have a look, see? Oh, okay, that's not, so it's just this one. So again, this is short in here. So we might have some issue with something, I wonder. Might be just a capacitor itself though, you never know. There you go, that one's going as well, isn't it? Look. Yeah. So that's another thing to look into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this video chip here, and I'm not going to put Kapton tape around the place. I'm just going to remove this chip and then we'll see if that short disappears or not. Okay, so I've got the flux around it, I've got my temperature set to 480 and I've got the airflow 4 out of 8, so half the airflow. Here we go. I forgot to make a note of which way round that went. Okay, so the writing is up that way. I'm going to write that down. Let's see what's happening now with the shorts. Excellent. Okay, so that short's gone now. Let's just check up here while we're here. Yes! These shorts have gone as well. Excellent. So obviously up here is linked to the video chip. So even though I'm probably not going to be able to fix this, at least I'm finding more stuff out about it. That's good. Right, let's turn this over and let's see if the short's gone from the capacitor near here now, near this charging chip. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Excellent. Very good news. Brilliant. Right, so we need to pop on another chip and see if that changes anything. Now I need to find out if I've got one, so bear with me for a bit. Okay, I have found one, but it seems a little bit sort of dull and stuff, so I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of solder to it, just to try to brighten up those pads a little bit. You can see that you can't see them on this side here. I'm just going to leave it at that. It might have been just purely the heat from the iron that cleaned it rather than the solder, but I can see them now. Again, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to put it straight back on without adding more solder or anything to it. So I'm going to put flux on here, and then we'll put this on and we'll see if the shorts still exist. Now these chips that I'm putting on, I do not know if they're good or bad. They could be faulty chips. No? Excellent. That's not shorting. Let's go up here. That's not. That's not. Excellent. So something's definitely changed from last time. And if you have a look, I'm pretty confident that that is in the right position. Can you see it looks to be central and nice and straight. Let's do the test on this side here. This little capacitor right here. That's good. That's good. And down here. Excellent. Right. Okay. This is really good. So for the first time now, there doesn't appear to be shorts absolutely everywhere. So let's put this back together. I wonder, can we just test it now? Will it give us some kind of charge now if I was just to plug the battery in, even though everything's unplugged from it? Maybe it would. Let's go on to this one here, because this is I haven't mucked up the battery in this one. There we go, let's plug it in and see what happens. Still saying 0. Still saying 0. Yeah. Okay. It's doing something that way around, but not much. No. Right, let me put it back together and see what's happening. Okay, so everything important is connected as far as I can see. I've just got like the Joy-Cons and stuff disconnected. Now, this is the different switch outside, but it's the faulty motherboard, and obviously it's the motherboard that's at fault. So let's see what's happening now. Right, so it's definitely not accepting a charge. I wonder, could the USB port be faulty? I really didn't want to have to get involved in that if I'm honest with you. There's nothing happening here. But all the shorts have gone. If I was to get a known, because these batteries are probably all discharged. In fact, I should be able to test for that. Well, that is saying 4 volts. Let me unplug this. Yeah, 4 volts. So this should be, that's 3.7. So this battery is charged. Look. So this is a good battery. Let me just try the battery that I got in the actual switch just now. 3.7. Okay, so this is probably more discharged than this one. So this is a good battery. So the very fact now that it's not displaying with the good battery says to me that it's not the USB port unless there is a short in this USB port. I don't really know where to go from now, if I'm honest with you. I mean, everything's kind of testing okay, but it's not accepting any charge and I can't see any more shorts. Right, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go across the whole board and just see if anything else is shorting. Maybe I haven't really checked on behind here to see if all these are shorting or not. Imagine I can feel that getting a little bit warm. Remember, I haven't got the heat pipe and stuff on here at the moment. I can feel that warming up a bit. But it wouldn't overheat that quick, would it? And also, this should kick in here. And this isn't kicking in. Right, okay, I'm going to spend a bit of time with this. I'm just going to be using my multimeter. I'm going to be going across different things, see if I can see anything obvious, and I'll get back to the video then. Right, interestingly now, I've put it in the dock and we have got a green light. I haven't taken the board out to check the other side yet, but the side that is exposed, I went across the capacitors there, and they all now appear to be okay. But there could be faults on the other side that I haven't checked. But I just thought I'd put it into the dock to see what happens. Now, this is interesting. There is a green light, but yet the controllers don't sync up and we don't have anything up on the screen. But yet, if I... there you go, it's gone off now. If I tap it, you can see it will come on. And if I tap it again, it will go off. So there is some sort of communication via that USB port. And occasionally, I have seen the fan spin. And then when I took it out of the dock, once or twice it span as well. So there is some kind of life there. Definitely making some kind of progress. So what I'm thinking now is, I might remove the USB-C port, because I'm thinking if the battery is charged, it should work without that USB-C port. As long as we don't want to dock it, we should still get something on screen, unless of course it needs to have those pins shorted together. But I don't think it would need that, because I think on a USB port, the actual port itself, all the pins are separate anyway. It would be the board that would short them together. So I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking maybe to change the charging chip, you know, the big one, even though I can't see it's faulty. Perhaps it is, I'm not sure. The other thing I might need to look into is RCM, because I've heard in the past that if nothing's displayed on the screen, it could be because it's got RCM, you know, like where it's basically being hacked and you need to insert something which will short certain pins in the Joy-Con rails. But I don't know if it would have these issues here where, for example, you know, it can't dock and stuff like that. I really don't know, but maybe I need to look into that as well. So I've got a few things to keep myself busy. And just to quickly show you, see now we're out of the dock, but yet that is spinning. See? So I think the switch thinks it is on. I can feel this getting warm here. It's just not doing anything anywhere. There's not even a backlight on, which is weird. You think the backlight would be... I think the backlight would be on if there was a problem with the LCD. Still spinning now. So I'm going to just continue to look at this. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the charge chip out. Now, I know I keep saying this, but remember, every single chip that I've changed, I don't actually know if they're working or not. It's just that every time I change a chip, the shorts go away. But I haven't changed this charge chip yet, and I do know that this big one here is the cause of many problems. So I'm gonna swap it out just to see. I mean, it's not testing faulty right now, but then hopefully when I put this one in, this won't be testing faulty either. So again, I've made a note of which way round it goes, and yeah, we'll see if that makes any difference. If not, then I'm gonna look into maybe trying it, but I know by changing that USB port myself that I will definitely fail on that. But at the same time, at least it will give me some kind of experience. Also, I do need to look into the RCM, but I don't believe that the RCM would make it just completely dead. I don't know, maybe it would. I don't know. I really don't know. So I've got the temperature at 480 degrees C, and I've got the air 4 out of 8, so the air's like halfway. I'm not taking anything else off, I'm just going for it. Let me pull out this. Pull out the battery before I forget. There we go. There we go, that's that one off. I'm going to put the other one straight on while it's still warm. That looks a little bit corroded underneath there. Solder doesn't look very nice. Doesn't look very shiny, does it? Let's see if I can put a dot of solder on there while it's still hot. Actually, let me put some more flux there. Well, that seems like everything's loose now, it's moving around the place, so I think that will do. I just need to get rid of that solder ball now from the edge, because obviously I put a big lump of solder there, didn't I? Definitely getting more used to it because you can kind of see it floating on the solder. So it's interesting to see that it does come out the side. I see Louis Rossmann do this, and I always thought that it would cause shorts, but maybe it doesn't then. Maybe it just expels it all out the side, which is useful to know. So as long as you don't mind cleaning that up afterwards, maybe it doesn't matter if you do put too much solder on. I'm going to clean that up, that might be okay. Right, okay, so that's definitely on in the middle of the chip, and I can't see any bridges, so it looks good. I'm just going to check for a few shorts. No, I think that all looks good. So let's zoom out. Now, let's see if we've got anything. Put it on there. Turn it on here, and of course we still don't have anything. Right, still nothing there at all. Let's see if we have anything when we're trying to charge it. Excellent, okay, we've got 0.4 again. That's good. So we've got 0.4. Okay, let's try turning it on now. See what happens. I mean, to me, the underneath of that did look a bit corroded. This was the old one here. In fact, you can see there. Can you see it looks dull? Do you know what? I bet this is a water damage switch. In which case, if it's a water damage, see, it's got this indicator here, but this indicator's kind of been melted around, hasn't it? Mind you, it doesn't look. You think it would have all gone to one colour? Yeah, let's see, it's gone off here now. But that's good. That is definitely good. 0.39. That's what it should be with, I believe, a depleted battery. But then it should go up to, but maybe it's because the battery's full. It should go to 1.7 or something, I think. But look, we haven't had it that high all day, have we? We haven't had it that high all day. I wonder maybe if I should try to do this USB port and then see what happens with it. I feel like I'm making progress. I really do. Maybe I'll look into RCM next. That might be the wisest thing to do, because I really am not confident doing this USB port. Okay, so I found this little thing here. I bought this off eBay. It's just like a 3D printed RCM, I think it's called a jig or something. Don't quote me on any of this. I believe you can do exactly the same thing with a paper clip. You just need to short between, is it pins 1 and pins 9 or pins 1 and 10? I'm not sure how many pins there are, but it looks like it's going to be the outer 2 pins, I think, but I'm not too sure. So I've never used this. It was only a few pound, but it slots in there like that. It's just like a nice, neat way of doing it. So with this RCM thing, I think because on previous videos when I've had a black screen, people say to check for RCM. So I'm thinking that I have to put this in here, turn it on, and then see if anything happens. Or maybe I have to go online and download something for it to work. But let's do that now. I'm going to have to use this Joy-Con round on this side because this one here, as you know, is fully melted in. Well, not melted in, melted out, and I don't want to mess around with that yet. So I'm just going to do it on this side here. Hold on. Hold on a minute, I didn't connect this one up. This is the backlight. This is the backlight. So maybe we wouldn't have seen anything on the last go because the backlight wasn't connected. Let's see now. Oh my God, look! Oh my God, what a result. It was the backlight. Well, it wasn't the backlight, it was, obviously, this chip here in the end that was faulty, along with all the other things, because, remember, it came up to 0.4 amps, which is what it should be reading, but I didn't see anything because the backlight wasn't plugged in. Oh, wow. Right, why have we got no volume? Haven't got any volume. Let's plug in. So obviously, oh, I can't unplug that one there. Let me plug in a speaker over here. Well, it doesn't matter because I'm going to put it all back in here anyway because I want to check the original screen. Let's forget about that. Let's just see if we have charge or anything. So the battery nearly looks full. That seems to be working. Let me try a Joy-Con on this. Actually, let me get the Pro Controller. So it must have been corrosion behind that chip. Behind the charge chip. Remember I said it was dull, and since then, the amps jumped up, didn't they? And we've got a charge. It's charging as well, look. Excellent. Wow. I wonder whether we're going to be able to play some of these. And that's a demo anyway. Demo. These look like they're all downloaded games, don't they? Or maybe they're just all demos. Splatoon 2? No, that's a card game. Card. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Wow, this is brilliant. So, let's see if we can get this controller synced up to it. We won't worry about... Oh, here we go, it has connected. It has connected. It's probably because... Yeah, obviously I'm doing this upside down. Yeah. Oh, that's unbelievable. I've never had one of these. I've never had a switch that's with multiple faults that I've actually fixed. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it all back into here because if it was water damage, maybe there's a problem with this screen here. Now, I know I've burnt the bottom of it and stuff, but I still want to see it working in the original one here, especially with the battery and stuff as well, just to see what's happening with it. But it looks like we're going to have some kind of working switch. I don't know if it's going to dock, and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to connect up this Joy-Con on this side here. But even if we were just having to use it in a tabletop thing, it's still a work. Well, basically, I'm just happy because it had multiple faults and I've got a screen working. So even if I end the video now, I'm absolutely over the moon that I've got this far. So yeah, I'm well happy with that. Let's transfer all this now into the original broken one that I got from Gary and see where we are. Using the original everything now. I've just taken a little bit of the corner off the battery just so I can squeeze it in there, and obviously this speaker's not working, is it, now that it's melted here, because otherwise we would have had sound a minute ago. And also I need to worry about this Joy-Con, but let's just see if it's turning on. Yes, it is. Brilliant! Honestly, I'm so happy. You don't know how much well, if you've subscribed to my channel for a while, you'll know how much hassle I've had with switches throughout the years. Meaning repairing them. And there we go, we have sound as well. But we've only got sound coming out of one speaker. Let me just make sure. Yeah, definitely no sound coming out of this one here. So I'm going to try to remove this one and find out if we can fix it. Let's just turn it off again. Okay, so that's what I've done. I've just routed the wires up here, round, and they're just soldered straight onto there. So I'm just going to give it a quick clean. And and then we can test that, see if it's working, and if it's working we can put Kapton tape over that and the battery contact, and hopefully that will keep them in place. But we also have the hard job now of trying to work out how to sort out this Joy-Con holder, the ribbon cable. See if we've got sound now. Let me just hear. Yes, we have. Yep. You can hear it's louder as well now. And the other speaker. Excellent, so happy with that so far. Right, let's try to concentrate now on this Joy-Con connector. Okay, I have to give up on that idea. I thought what I could do is if I could solder them all on and then I could put hot glue gun, but I just keep failing. I get 2, 3, 4 on, then the second one comes off. Then I get the second one on and the first one comes off. I get the first one on and the fourth one comes off. I can't seem to get more than 4 wires on. My solder's not good enough, so I'm just going to have to... Trying to think now, is the switch even going to work properly? I suppose it will constantly think it's in tabletop mode, won't it? Because, in fact, what I'm probably going to have to do is I'm probably going to have to disconnect the other Joy-Con as well. And then it will... Just trying to think, you see. Because otherwise it's going to have one Joy-Con connected and then the other one's going to be disconnected. So that will be fine in tabletop mode. But when it's got one Joy-Con connected, it's going to be asking to connect the other Joy-Con. So I think it would probably be best to disconnect the other Joy-Con as well, and then it will always think it's in tabletop mode. You can still hold it in, you know, handheld mode. It's just that it's always going to think it's in tabletop mode. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal, because even if you didn't have another switch, which most people won't, you can buy a charging station for the Joy-Con. So I still think that it will be of value to someone out there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this all back together, and then we'll have to see whether it docks or not, because that's one thing we haven't tried. And earlier on, when I was mucking about with my dock, I managed to break my dock. So right now, my dock isn't working, which is a bit irritating, so that might be another fix-it video, or trying to fix video. Right, so let's dock it and see what happens. So this is my working switch, and as you can see, this particular dock's working. For some reason, this one now is completely dead. It's not lighting up at all. So, and it's been left off for a good 2 hours now, and it's still not working. So obviously, I've managed to blow something in that before the mucking around. Right, let's now turn this one on. And let's see if this is going to dock itself. Right, it's gone out there. Let's see what happens up here. No. So it's not docking, which I thought might be the case, because I did have another switch that didn't dock. Now, it's whether I want to get any more involved in this or not. Let's try it again. Maybe it's a USB problem. Yeah, nothing's happening at all. Right, oh, that is a shame, but we have still got a working switch. But it would be nice if it was able to be docked. Oh, it's a real dilemma, because right now it is working, isn't it? And if I take out that USB port, there's a very good chance I'm not going to get it working again. or there could be some other sort of damage. The reason I'm really wary about this is because I've got another switch that doesn't dock. You might remember I did a couple of videos on it and I couldn't find out what it was. I wonder if it's a USB port. See, on that other one, I spent ages on it. Not sure what to do. I'll have a think about it and then I'll get back to the video. Okay, so I've had a think about it, and to me the risk is too great, and I'll tell you why. I do want to change the USB port out on a broken switch because I've never done one and I need to learn how to do it. But on this one here, it apparently already had corrosion. Now the pads might be dodgy on the inside there. Right now this is working and also this is charging. I've just checked it now. It went from 33% to 37% in around 10 minutes. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a working switch. Yes, it's not ideal that it doesn't dock, and yes, it's not ideal that the Joy-Cons have to be played in tabletop mode even when they're on here, but it is still a switch that works. So I would rather change this out on a switch that is faulty because this doesn't work. For example, often you get ones with broken ones of these where somebody put something in wrong, or maybe they had the cable in, they let the switch drop and it snaps some part of the inside. In that case then, I'm not breaking the switch by swapping one of these out. If it goes wrong, it didn't work in the first place. So that's my thinking behind it. Also, I don't actually know if the non-docking issue is to do with the USB port. I had the problem, like I mentioned, with a non-docking switch before. And a couple of people in the comments thought it might be the USB port, but a majority of people thought that possibly it could be a broken trace somewhere else along the line. Now remember, I didn't change this port over, so I don't really know the condition of it underneath. But I think right now I'm so happy with this switch that works. I don't want to have a switch that not works after I've put so much time into this. So let me put it all back together and then we'll give it one final test. Now by rights I should be changing the thermal paste on this, but I've run out because I was trying to fix some PS3s and I used it all on that. I have ordered some up, but it's not due in for a few days. I've ordered up, I think it was called Arctic MX4. So I'm just going to leave what's already on here and hopefully it will be okay. Right, so I'm just going to sync this controller up. Okay, let's get this set up and I'll show you a bit of gameplay. Okay, so I've picked one of the games that's actually on the Switch already. I don't fully understand it, but let me show you anyway. So I think the idea is just not to land on your face. Right, there we go, finish. Right, so, do you know, I'm so happy with that one. Now, if I was doing it again, what would I have done differently? 100% I would have tried better to protect that little Joy-Con ribbon cable clip thing. The only thing is, I don't know how you would do that. I mean, I put about 3 or 4 layers of Kapton tape on it, so unless you were to cover it in kitchen foil maybe, you know, cover it completely in kitchen foil. The problem I had was, you've seen the rest of the chips I was fine on, but on that one, it was so close to everything else that the Kapton tape was lifting off because of the flux, and then the flux was getting underneath it, and then basically it was just probably more heat was probably building up underneath the Kapton tape than if I didn't have it on at all. As well as that, you've seen here, look at the mess here as well. I mean, that looks horrible. So I would like to say I would do it differently next time. The problem is I'm not too sure how I would do it differently next time. So if you know how to protect that little thing, then please let me know. Maybe I should have used some kind of sticky copper tape or something like that. Maybe that would have been better, but then I'd be worried that the adhesive would get into it. So that was the thing that really annoyed me, that particular thing there, because if it wasn't for that now, the Joy-Cons would be working and it would nearly be a good switch. Now the fact that the docking is not working, I think is probably I could be wrong. I think it's probably to do with the USB ports. But because I'm not experienced in changing them, I don't want to risk that. It doesn't mean that in a year or 2 or 6 months, if I have a chance to change a few of these out, I can then revisit this one and I can change it out. I've still got the other switch that doesn't dock. I can revisit that one and try changing it out. I do actually have spare USB ports that I bought. So the options are always there. But for this particular one, I was so happy because you've seen that originally it was shorting all around that tiny little chip. Changed it out, those shorts went. There was a short by the power IC, the power chip thing, the charging chip, and then I thought that was linked to the video chip, which it was. There was also shorts by the video chip and further up on the board. Changed the video chip out and those went. And then we just, and that also got rid of the short by the charging IC, the big chip. And then I took that one off and that one looked like it had corrosion. It looked faded underneath. And then when I changed that out, that was the very first time it started to charge at 0.4 amps. And that's because I was using a battery that was already, I think that battery was already full. Because remember, it was testing 4 volts while this was testing 3.7 volts. So I reckon if I was to plug the thing into here now, in fact, let me quickly try that. Let's see what it does. There you go, 1.37 amps. So obviously it is charging, which is fantastic. I have absolutely loved doing this video because it's given me a chance to change some chips out and I was successful with it, and it was so nice when I finally seen that screen come on. So by changing that very last chip that was faded underneath the charging IC, we then had the 0.4 amps come up here. The reason that I couldn't get anything on the screen is because I didn't have the backlight turned on. So basically the screen was probably working, but we couldn't see anything. So as soon as I did that, it came on. And yeah, that's it. I'm so happy with it. Obviously it's far from a working switch, but at the same time, it is a working switch, and it was dead when I got it, and I don't think it was an easy fix. I'm glad I persevered and I got there in the end. I've learned a bit, but most of all, I've got more experience now doing chips and more confidence as well, so I'll be well happy doing that again. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more trying to fix videos. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. Bye now.